We need to do a Champions Classic preview because we got to talk about this. We need official picks. We need official predictions. We need official projections. Kansas, Michigan State starting things off. T.O., you're all in on the Michigan State bandwagon. You think that they are
Yeah,
going to
until they
be
play Kansas. Kansas wins.
well, no. So what does Michigan State have like how does this play out? Kansas State, by the way, 6.5 point favorite right now at BetMGM.
Oh,
They're gonna have to
wow.
compete with them physically and grab this game down, mess it up a little bit. Kansas wins.
Santa?
Michigan State's going to be in this game with 2 minutes to go.
Yeah.
Whether they win it or not, we'll see. But they're going to hang in this game because Tom is elite at staying in the game and kind of just mucking it up and making it a half court battle, which is what you got to do. You got to take away Kansas's tempo. You got to take away Kansas's tempo. You got to
Which
defend
is nuts because once it slows down, you go to Hunter Dickinson.
Yeah, you can, but Tom seems to be good throughout the course of his career at doing enough in the post. Didn't do it against Zach Edey. This is more of a welcome sight against Hunter Dickinson. What does Michigan State have to do? Well, they're going to need Jaden Akins to come out and hit shots. He went 0 for 3 against Niagara from downtown. He's got to come out and hit some shots. Jeremy Thiers can't disappear. He's got to score. He can distribute the basketball, but he's got to score some. And Frankie Fiddler needs to be a factor as well. You brought him into scoring games like this. Jackson Kohler played quite well against Niagara. Is that going to translate to this game? We'll see. And then will the real Xavier Booker step up? I mean, Xavier Booker was so highly touted coming out of high school. We've been waiting for a night where we're like, that was Xavier Booker. I do think that Jace Richardson
went to the wrong place, man. He went to the wrong school for a guy that's 6'11" and skilled and wants to be on the perimeter.
I do think that Jace Richardson can make an impact in this game because he supplies instant offense. Kansas is the better team on paper, but Tom Izzo is an unbelievable coach. 6.5, that's an interesting line because I actually thought that could have been closer to 8 or 9. That tells me this won't just be a blowout. I think Michigan State will hang in the game, but it's really hard for me to go against the number 1 team in the country. So I'm going to take Kansas. They find a way late.
Yeah, I think I would probably take Kansas, and I would probably lay the points with Kansas too. I just don't think Michigan State has the Kansas did whatever they wanted to offensively against North Carolina, more or less, and I think that same thing's going to happen against Michigan State. And Michigan State does not have R.J. Davis and Seth Trimble and Elliot Cadeau to pull them back from a 20-point deficit. I don't think that this one's going to be all that exciting. What will be exciting is the nightcap, Duke and Kentucky in I feel like I say this every year heading into the Champions Classic, but like I'm more excited for this matchup than I've been for a while. I think Kentucky 5.5-point dog, Fanta. I think that they're a live dog. I think they got a real chance to win this thing. That's a lot of points.
Wow. That's a lot of points is right. I mean, I'll go with Kentucky on that line. I think that the Wildcats are going to show us something. Look, experience matters, and they do have the experience advantage. Talent, Cooper Flagg, John Shire very angry after the Army game because Flagg missed the majority of the second half with cramping issues. Remember Paolo Banchero went through something similar. And then they found a fluid that would work, some sort of superhuman stuff. They're going to need to find that here with Cooper. They can't have him off the floor with any cramping issues. Look, I think to me what's going to be interesting about this game is Kentucky in the post. You bring in Amari Williams. So what does it look like on the other side with Flagg, with Common Malawach, who comes in with a lot of expectations and there's a lot of hype around him, and rightly so. But the question we've been asking with Duke all in the offseason was, is this backcourt made for the moment? Well, on the other side here, you got Kirk Kriisa and Kobe Brea, and you got Jackson Robinson. Good test against experienced players that sometimes can get a little frenetic themselves. Fascinating matchup down in Atlanta, down in hot Atlanta. And I think it's going to be a game that comes down to the wire. I don't think this is a blowout either way. November, different than December, different than January and February. If it's 5.5, I don't know if I'm not saying Kentucky necessarily wins the game, but I like Kentucky more on that than I do Duke. I lean Kentucky.
How do you match up here, T.O., if you're Kentucky, right? Because Duke is starting Tyrese Proctor, Caleb Foster in the backcourt, Conn Nipple, Cooper Flag at the forward spots, and Kama Malawach at the 5, right? Who are you putting? So the Kentucky is going to run out there, Andrew Carr and Amari Williams, I'm assuming, starting. How do you match up with those two? Like, who are you putting on Cooper Flag? Are you throwing Otega Oweh on him and letting
I think Amari you put on Flag.
put Amari on Flag?
Amari's the same guy that Takeo Siddle called a cheat code
Hmm.
last year, like defensively. So you put him there. I think this is the game that people finally get a glimpse of what Concanipple is. And that is a freaking bucket who can shoot it from anywhere. Don't be surprised if he goes for like 25 or 30.
Someone always does that in the Champions Classic. There's always
And I
one
think it's
dude
going
that
to be
comes
Con.
in.
I think it's going to be Con.
Yes.
I think
Well,
like Con.
if he does,
Oh,
if he does, then
if I
his
could
season's over. If you like, remember Caleb Foster last year hit 6 threes in the Champions Classic.
stop.
The year before that, it was Quentin Grimes. There's always someone that goes absolutely bonkers in the Champions Classic, and that's the last we hear from him the entire season. You just ended Knipple's career. That's not nice,
he
man.
could have an amazing year. He could be that guy. Look at Zion James could also have a really good game and have that type of Champions Classic night where then we're talking. No, Con Knipple might be for Duke, might be the single most important player in the game from a perspective of shot making, feel, delivering from the perimeter. If Duke gets perimeter scoring, they could be the best team in the country.
Duke's got the best two players on the floor. Like the best two players on the floor, and then you add the defensive presence of Malawach. Like now guard play is a question, but they have so many guys that could just grab and go. Like those guys are. Duke gets out in transition, they're deadly.
Yeah,
I think the game's going to come down to tempo, like
Yeah.
the pace of the game and how it's played.
Yeah, I think Kentucky keeps this one close. I like them plus the points, but that's going to be a difficult matchup. I think the thing that I have circled is this is the first time that we see 17-year-old Cooper Flag, freshman Conn Nipple, freshman Kama Malawach, even like Caleb Foster and Tyrese Proctor, who are veterans but are not the most physical players in the country. They're going up against like grown ass men. Otega
Sion James, grown ass man. Mason Gillis, grown ass man.
Yeah,
Malik Brown, little skinny, grown ass man.
But
Come
you
on,
put them,
Malawach 7'2" and change, grown ass man. I don't care how old he is.
yeah, but you put those
I
guys
think
on the
they'll be
floor.
fine.
Yeah, I mean, you get those transfers on the floor, and somebody else has to come off, is what I'm saying. So we'll see. I do think Duke wins. I think it's going to be closer than maybe people expect, and I think that there's going to be a little bit of we're like, oh wow, like Kentucky might be real. I think that's the conversation that we're going to have coming out of this. So
They are for real.
They're for
I know
real.
they are, but we'll see. We'll see. Maybe
And they were the net winner. They were the net winner. I feel strong about this. They were the net winner of the coaching carousel.